Hello friends, welcome back. This is Himanshu Verma. In the previous lecture, we have seen that in case of parallel plane waveguide, if we fix one plane of the waveguide, then the second plane must be fixed at integral multiple of lambda upon 2 cos of theta I. And we defined m as mode of propagation, and m value can be 0, 1, 2, 3 and so on. Here one question may arise, what is the meaning for m is equal to 0 value? Because if m is equal to 0, then d becomes 0, means no separation between the planes. And if there is no separation between the planes, then it cannot be a waveguide, because waveguide will always have some dimensions through which a wave can propagate by reflections. So to understand mode 0, take cos of theta I on this side and separation on this side, and now put m is equal to 0. So it shows for m is equal to 0, cos of theta I is equal to 0, which results theta I is equal to 90 degree. So we can understand mode 0 in this way. If a wave travels with angle of incidence 90 degree, then it is said that wave is propagating in mode 0. And what is the angle of incidence 90 degree means? When wave is traveling parallel to the planes, means the wave will not strike with the boundaries of the waveguide. If it propagates parallel to the planes, then angle of incidence would be 90 degree. In this case, the separation between the planes does not play any significant role, but still, because boundaries exist, that's why the tangential component of electric field and normal component of magnetic field have to satisfy the boundary conditions. And due to those conditions, this type of propagation is possible only in some specific case. Now after getting understanding of mode 0, we again come on this expression, that is cos of theta I is equal to m lambda upon 2d. As cosine function always have value less than or equals to 1, therefore m lambda upon 2d should have value less than or equal to 1, and this is possible only if m lambda is less than or equal to 2d. From here we get lambda is less than or equal to 2d upon m. If we convert it in terms of frequency, then replace lambda with c upon f. Now take inverse on both sides. Due to inverse taken on both sides, the inequality sign will change, and from here we will get f is greater than equals to mc upon 2d. So these two expressions shows for a given separation and given mode, there is some restriction on wavelength or frequency of the wave. The restriction is wavelength should be less than or equal to 2d upon m, and frequency should be greater than or equal to mc upon 2d. So it shows for waveguide propagation, the wavelength of the wave should be less than a specific value and frequency should be greater than a specific value, and that specific value is known as cutoff value. So wavelength cutoff is 2d upon m and frequency cutoff is mc upon 2d. We should remember wavelength should be less than and frequency should be greater than the cutoff value. Here we can conclude one more thing. If we want to propagate a lower frequency through the waveguide, then the dimensions of the waveguide should be large, because for larger dimensions the cutoff frequency is less for a waveguide, because practically it is not economically to realize a larger waveguide. That's why generally we use high frequency waves for waveguide propagation. Now after understanding this, now we have some discussion on velocities of electromagnetic wave in waveguide propagation. As we know, in free space, electromagnetic wave propagates with velocity c, that is velocity of light. In case of waveguide propagation, we want the energy should flow from one end of the waveguide to another end of the waveguide, that is in this direction, which is z direction. But in case of waveguide propagation, the wave is not moving straight in this direction. If the wave was moving straight in this direction, then there would have been only z component. But now wave is moving in such a way that its movement has two components, one component in x direction and another in z direction. Now in how much time the wave energy will reach from one end of the waveguide to another end of the waveguide will depend upon its z component only, because z component is responsible for the movement of energy in z direction. If angle of incidence is theta I, then this angle would be 90 degree minus theta I, and because in this direction velocity is c, so z component would be c cos of 90 degree minus theta I, which is c sin of theta I. It is very much clear, if angle of incidence is 0 degree, then there would be no propagation of energy in z direction, because z component of velocity becomes 0. Now here we define one term, that is group velocity. Group velocity is denoted by Vg, and it is defined the velocity by which wave energy flows in z direction, and it is c sine of theta I. As sine function is always less than 1, therefore group velocity is always less than c, that is velocity of light. In case of waveguide propagation, we can define one more velocity also, and that is the velocity of phase. Here phase velocity is defined as the velocity of phase in z direction. Suppose the wave is traveling in this direction with velocity c, then in this direction the phase velocity will also be c. But as we know, the net propagation is in z direction. Then what about velocity of phase in z direction? If we calculate velocity of phase in z direction, then we will find the velocity of phase in z direction is higher than c. We can understand it in this way. Suppose wave is traveling in this direction. Here we make use of wavefront. Wavefront is defined as the locus of constant phase. It means throughout the wavefront plane, the phase remains same, and wavefront can be drawn by drawing a plane perpendicular to the wave propagation. Suppose at any time the wave is here and its phase is p1. We can draw a wavefront here, then all points existing on this wavefront will have phase p1. After some time, the wave reaches here and its phase becomes p2. Again we draw a wavefront, and on this entire wavefront, the phase would be p2. Similarly, after some time, the wave reaches here, phase becomes p3, and on this entire wavefront, the phase would be p3. Similarly, after some time, the wave reaches here and its phase becomes p4, and we draw a wavefront, and throughout the entire wavefront, phase would be p4. Now, if we draw z direction and find out what is the velocity of phase in z direction? If this phase is p2, then here the phase on z direction will also be p2, because both of these points lie on same wavefront. Similarly, this phase is p3, then this will also be p3. This is p4, then this point phase will also be p4. So it is very clearly visible. In this direction, the phase is changing with velocity c, but in this direction, the phase is changing with a velocity greater than c, because in same time in this direction the phase has traveled more distance compared to this distance. In this direction velocity is c. Now we can calculate velocity in this direction also. Because this angle is theta I, then this angle would be 90 degree minus theta I. Now take this triangle ABC. Suppose this distance AB is capital D, which is travelled in small time t. Because in this direction velocity is c, therefore capital D upon small t is equal to c. Now by using trigonometry, if this distance is d, then this distance would be d upon cos of 90 degree minus theta, that is capital D upon sin theta. As this distance is also travelled in small time t, so in this direction velocity would be d upon sin theta I divided by t, and this d upon t can be replaced by small c. So in this direction, that is in z direction, phase is propagating with velocity c upon sin of theta I, and this is known as phase velocity, denoted by Vp. So finally we can say that in case of waveguide propagation, two velocities are defined. One is group velocity, which is the velocity of wave energy in z direction, and second is phase velocity, which is the velocity of phase in z direction. In case of free space propagation, as theta I is always equal to 90 degree, therefore both group velocity and phase velocity have value c. Because in that case both velocities have same value, therefore we did not define them separately. But in case of waveguide propagation, due to up-down motion, these two velocities have different values. That's why we defined them separately. Here we can conclude that when theta I is 90 degree, then both group velocity and phase velocity have same value, that is c. But as the value of theta I decreases, group velocity will lower its value than c, and phase velocity increase its value than c. And for theta I is equal to 0 degree, that is normal incidence, group velocity becomes 0 because there is no net propagation in z direction, and phase velocity becomes infinite. So friends, this was all about cutoff wavelength, cutoff frequency, group velocity and phase velocity. We stop here. In the next lecture, we will learn more about the waveguide. Please like and share the video and subscribe the channel. If you have any doubt, ask in comment section. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.